most basic thing in consciousness is this basic question that always comes up is, who am I? What's my situation? How do I deal with it? That kind of thing. And Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide said, after that, the next question is, where do we have lunch? He thought, but the fundamental things, as humans, we have to work out how to deal with our own way we deal with our own hearts and minds, how we deal with each other, how we survive, how we connect. And so meditation is for that. And meditation is something different. Normally, you'll notice when you meditate, you'll notice the moves you make. So you notice that you're meditating and some kind of issue comes up and you start sort of tinkering with it. And it's like it's up on a screen and you're fixing it. And it could be the latest outrage from Washington. You're thinking, well, if only they, and we should, and so on. So it could be that. Or it could be something in your personal life, somebody's got a sick kid, and that, and playing the scenarios about which medications. Or it could be, it could be a creative problem. I write, and when you're writing, you always feel like you're always off track. So it could be that. That's very easy for me. If I did this, and then at a certain stage, you notice, I'm doing something out here. I'm here, and the question is, who is doing that? The deeper question. The way to freedom is always, who is doing that, and who is fixing things, who's meditating, who's here in this room. And that Hakuin, the great Japanese teacher Hakuin, called that turning the light backwards. You turn the light inwards. Hakuin ekaku. But everybody kind of gets that in some way. If you're angry and you notice that you're angry, and then you notice the feeling of anger in your body, you start to get free of the anger. You're not caught by demons so much, And so, so it's a good thing to know that you don't have to be caught by demons, Particularly when a lot of people around you are caught by demons. So we're for freedom, And so I gave you this goose in the bottle koan because it's clearly about that. It's about when you have an impossible situation and you're caught and you're trapped, and you're a goose and you're in a bottle. How do you get out? And pretty much that's life. Here you are. Your body has a sell-by date. Even your mind has a sell-by date. Someone very close to me is dealing with her father, a brilliant physicist who's now can't always remember that he had 3 conversations with you today, or things like that, or which was you. So there's that quality of life that we're in something and we're just in it, and we have to find some kind of freedom within the conditions we have. We're not going to be able to have a different life, really. We can do stuff, if your body's in trouble, you can, medicine might help and so on, but eventually it won't. And explaining the world might help, you might make the right choices, but eventually it doesn't matter how well you explain the world does the world. So the movement in meditation is in a certain sense to harmonize with the world and have it carry us, so that we can be at peace when the world is not. Because most people are in cultures and places where the world is not very much at peace, right? And struggling and striving and that sort of thing going on. And we can see that, and the reaction to our own political situation, we can tell there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, right? There are a lot of refugees, and partly that's because we have some responsibility. We broke the Middle East, and we didn't quite purchase it after we broke it. Other people wanted to own it too, but and other people broke the Middle East with us. But we did, so there's that quality. But it's also climate change is affecting places like the Middle East and Africa a great deal. there's less and less resources because there's less and less fertile. There's less and less animals. There's less and less forests. And so it's human pressure and climate change. And and typically humans, when faced with a terrible, terrible life-threatening problem like that, will do something like appoint somebody who doesn't believe in climate change to be the Environmental Protection Agency person. Mm-hmm. Very typical human reaction, right? And that's what we'll do. We'll say the problem doesn't exist, like that. So, you get these sort of. So you can tell delusion is one of the responses to delusion is delusion. Yeah. And so our task, and if you're in any way clear-sighted, you'll see this at least sometimes. You'll see that most of the solutions to the problems we have are often kind of crazy. So let's mine more coal and burn more coal. So we'll see that, and as meditators, there's a couple of things. It's good to see clearly. It's good not to pretend that things are it's all fine. Well, people on the left, they get angry too, so they're just the same as people on the right. But it's actually different. Don't do false equivalences. That's one of the things, because, people on the left do stupid stuff, but the people on the right now are doing more stupid stuff, and they've got the power to do it. So part of politics, I have a friend, one of our members, who's on Wall Street, and he's sort of very upset because he's very committed to liberal democracy and everything, and he realizes it's under terrible threat. But all his left-wing friends are believing all sorts of stupid stuff, And so, and I said, well, sit with your koan, that might help you. He said, I am, but it's not helping. and he said this great thing. He said, and I said this thing to him. I said, well, when I remember I first started in politics, first got interested in politics during the Vietnam Wars. Kind of dates me. But one of the things I found painful was the crazy things that people who were on my side believed, and then I realized that that's what politics is allying with people who want the things you want, but they want them for deluded reasons. And so you just got to work with the human delusion, including your own, So part of it, there's a kind of compassion in a time like this that comes where have compassion for your own delusions, other people's delusions. And you don't have to get consumed. Adding hatred to the hatred doesn't help. Don't get. But that doesn't mean you can't act. Like in our last retreat, we had 6-day retreat, pretty much intense retreat, and then a bunch of people went out to the Women's March, wearing their pink hats, which was great, and we had people all over the world, doing women's marches. There was one in Oaxaca that's connected to us. It was great. Yay! Let's hear it for the Oaxaca Women's March. It's great. And as well as other obvious places like Sydney and New York and Washington. But so there's that. So it's possible not to. Don't be too afraid, or if you're afraid, don't give in to it. And meditate. Like the seeds of the new time are in the throes of the threshing of the old time. So it's good for us to be steady and be steady in our hearts, and that's what meditation is. And then you'll find, maybe I'm out of that bottle. I know what to do. I can function here. And I can do helpful things. So I don't have to lie to myself that everything's okay, but I don't have to get drowned in the dread and apprehension of what's the dark things that are going on. Because dark things are always going on, and that's just true. And they were going on before we noticed anyway, so as any visit to a third world country will tell you. And I wanted to say something. In Zen, there's a special feeling for refugees because it's an old issue in Zen, and there's always been a thing about welcoming the stranger. And people came, people have always traveled carrying the meditation tradition, and they've come to various places, and sometimes they've been refugees. The only Zen meditation center happening during the early 40s, during the time of the Second World War, was run by one of our Zen ancestors in a prison camp in Heart Mountain in Idaho, a concentration camp, with a Japanese internment camp. And he had a zendo. He got interned, so he started a zendo there. I've known people who sat in that camp. It's a kind of a noble thing. So he kept something alive there, and people did keep things alive. And so there's that, and that it's important to love what you love and do what you love, and not be phony about that. Like, that's part of Zen. Like, part of not being overly attached to what you're feeling and thinking is also to notice what counts in life, And one of the things that counts is the Bodhisattva path, where we know we're in it together, so if we meditate together, it's better. If we meditate, it's better than if we don't meditate. Stuff like that. It's kind of simple, So there's that. What else? I said some things here that I thought might be helpful. It's always too early to panic. So, and if you think about it, it is too. I'm dying. Well, I'm not dead yet, so I don't need to panic. I've probably got 20 seconds left. I might as well enjoy it. So it's always too early to panic. And regret is not helpful. Like, what could have been isn't. Right? It's good not to, in a way, not to give in, not to say, oh, well, if there's something you love that you need to do, then make it happen. Do your best to make it happen. So, like, I think it's great. The women's marches are a great thing. So they're cool. And in a way you don't know. It's hard to measure the effectiveness of something like that. It's like meditation. The effectiveness of some things is measured in the transformation of people's hearts before it's measured in anything else. And that has a long arc to it. So, like that guy sitting in meditation with a handful of kids in a internment camp. Now there are people all over the world, sitting with koans because of that. So it's good to help each other. So help each other with demons, or as I said, I have a particular feeling for refugees, and so I'll always hide a refugee if I can. Shelter for the refugees. If someone is chasing you, I'll help you, kind of thing. And that somehow that's part of the spirit of Zen too. That there are a lot of things where if you could just get to the Zen temple, you'd be safe. It doesn't matter who was chasing you, what happened, what was wrong. And in Japan, where women were not allowed to get a divorce, if they couldn't stand it, all they had to do was get a shoe over the wall of the temple. And then they could go into the temple and get away from their marriage. It's got a great thing. So there's that sense of refuge is an inward thing at first, but it's also an outward thing. We try to help each other. It's a cool thing to help each other, love each other, help each other. And also in a difficult time, you notice it's quite possible to be more free, because there's a certain sleep in when everything's comfortable can go on, and we get other people to do the hard things for us and stuff. And so maybe many of, there's great art and great music and great writing often comes out of difficult places and difficult times, And so, so there's that, to remember that that's for us, to do what we love, to really do it. We can do it well now, We don't have to apologize. Nobody's going to pat us on the back for being good or cool, because it's not that kind of culture we're in anymore, So we can do what we love and not sit around hoping for things, other people to give us things. We can seize life for ourselves, and that's an important thing. And I wanted to read a poem that I'm sure you know. It's kind of a famous poem by someone who lives in London now, who's a Somali refugee, and it's about being a refugee. And it was when the first reactions to against refugees in Europe started coming. And it's called, her name's Wasam Shire, and it's called No One Leaves Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city is running as well. Your neighbours running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck, feeding on newspaper unless the miles travelled mean something more than the journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching or in prison. Because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it, no one could stomach it, no one's skin would be tough enough. The go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country dry, niggers with their hands out, they smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess ours up. How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child body in pieces. I want to go home. But home is the mouth of a shark, home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. So I read that because I think it's, it's good to know what people experience and go through, and that's just what, and we all know that's true. That poem, and there are people going through that every day coming across the border, trying to get across the border from Mexico, or in many places, So, trying to get to Italy from North Africa, trying to get somewhere, And I think we know that's part of being human, and it's good not to be overwhelmed by the pain and the suffering, and that's what meditation's for, and we realize that there's something bigger. There's a light we all share, and when you feel for someone, you're sitting in that light too, and in some way that's a good thing, If you don't flinch and turn away from what the world is, there's a little bit of freedom gets in, a little bit of love gets in. And we can do that, you know. Sometimes we can just love people and we can't do very much, but that's a huge thing to do. And I think that's a lot to do with what meditation is. Sometimes, instead of screaming or going crazy or picking a fight, if you just meditate, you help the world a little bit, you know. And then if you meditate with a friend, you both help the world a little bit. And then you might know the action to do that is freeing for you, that is the goose coming out of the bottle. That might just appear. Because we know that something bigger than us is holding us and carrying us, and so it's good to have confidence in that, even in the difficult times. So I guess that's what I want to say about meditation in difficult times, you know. That there is something bigger carrying us, and we can accord with it, and that the seeds of the new time are now, and so it's up to us to tend those seeds. So, just thank you very much.